Assalamu alaikum warahmatullah. Welcome to video class. Now today we are going to start a new chapter in biology, that is life process, and the first topic of this chapter is nutrition. So the first question is, what is nutrition? When we define nutrition, we say nutrition is the process by which organisms obtain food. So it is the process of obtaining food, we can say. It is the process of obtaining food, or in other words, we can say it is the process by which living organisms obtain food. Organisms obtain food. For growth, maintenance, and repair of the body. Well, this is the definition of the nutrition. So we can define nutrition as the process of obtaining food by living organisms for growth, maintenance, and repair of the body. Now, as far as the modes of nutrition is concerned, modes of nutrition or we can say the types of nutrition. There are two types of nutrition. Number one is autotrophic mode of nutrition. And number second is heterotrophic mode of nutrition. As far as the autotrophic mode of nutrition is concerned, as if we distinguish these two words, auto and trophic, so we say auto means the self-producers, self, and trophic refers to food. So we can define autotrophic mode of nutrition. It's a type of nutrition in which living organisms manufacture its own food from simple inorganic raw materials. So as far as the autotrophic mode of nutrition is concerned, so it is the process of obtaining food from simple inorganic raw materials. I will give the example of those raw materials. That will be carbon dioxide, that will be water, and minerals. And there are another group of organisms which obtain their food themselves, and we call them chemoautotrophs. Now, autotrophs, we can say, are number one is photoautotrophs, and number second it is chemoautotrophs. And as far as the photoautotrophs are concerned, photoautotrophs use solar energy, or we can simply say sunlight, for obtaining food. And as far as the chemoautotrophs are concerned, chemoautotrophs they use chemical energy released during chemical reactions. For the synthesis of food. So as far as the autotrophs and chemoautotrophs are called, now are concerned, autotrophs are of two types. Number one is photosynthesizers and number second is chemosynthesizer. We can call them photoautotrophs and chemoautotrophs. And photoautotrophs use solar energy for manufacture of their food, and the best example is all the green plants are photosynthesizers. And as far as the chemosynthesizers are concerned, they use chemical energy released during chemical reactions for the synthesis of their food. And if you look at the example of chemoautotrophs, there are certain bacteria. For example, we can say there are sulfur bacteria, and there are nitrogen fixing bacteria. All these are the chemoautotrophs. Now let's move to the second part of autotrophic mode of nutrition, and that is called the heterotrophic mode of nutrition. Heterotrophic mode of nutrition. Now as far as the heterotrophic mode of nutrition is concerned, heterotrophic mode of nutrition is a mode of nutrition in which living organisms depend on another living organisms. Depends on other living organisms for their food. Now, if we differentiate these two words, hetero and troph. Hetero refers to different. We say hetero means different. And again, troph means nutrition or food. That means the mode of nutrition in which living organisms depend on other living organisms for their food are called heterotrophic mode of nutrition. And the organisms are definitely, they are called heterotrophs. So heterotrophs show the heterotrophic mode of nutrition. Now heterotrophic mode of nutrition is concerned. Heterotrophic mode of nutrition is classified into three types, or we can say classified into three types. And what are those three types? Number one, I will write here classification of heterotrophic mode of nutrition. Number one is saprozoic mode of nutrition. Number second is parasitic mode of nutrition. Number third is holozoic mode of nutrition. These were the three types of heterotrophic mode of nutrition. Let's discuss these one by one. As far as the saprozoic mode of nutrition is concerned, saprozoic mode of nutrition is a type of nutrition in which living organisms depend on dead and decaying organic matter. So we say saprozoics depend on dead and organic matter. So depends on dead organic matter. So if we'll give the example of saprozoic mode of nutrition, simply now we know that saprozoic mode of nutrition depends on dead and decaying organic matter. Now we can get the example. fungi, bacteria, and few protozoans also, which depend on dead and decaying organic matter. So the second type of heterotrophic mode of nutrition is parasitic mode of nutrition. Now, what do you mean by parasitic mode of nutrition? So we say a parasite is a living organism, or we can say a parasite is one which lives on or inside the body of another living organisms. We can say parasite is one which lives on, when we call it ectoparasite, or inside we call it endoparasite, the body of another living organisms, and that is called the host. When parasite lives inside the body of living organism, we call it is endoparasite. When it lives outside the body or on the body of ectoparasite, on the body of a living organism, then it's called ectoparasite, and the body in which it lives is called the host. So if we give the example, there are some virus, some fungi, many bacteria. All these are the parasites, and they show the parasitic mode of nutrition. Now, parasites also occur in plants. In plants, there is a parasitic mode of nutrition also. That means in plants, some parasites occurs, and those are called non-chlorophyllous flowering plants. We say the non-chlorophyllous flowering plants. Okay, now third one, that's called the holozoic mode of nutrition. Holozoic mode of nutrition. What do you mean by the holozoic mode of nutrition? Now, as far as the holozoic mode of nutrition is concerned, it is a mode of nutrition in which living organism ingest solid organic matter as a whole, and during digestion, so we can say, and during digestion, they gets partly hydrolyzed, or we can say they get broken down, or we can say they break the organic molecules, and then digested food is absorbed into cells and tissues. So as far as the holozoic mode of nutrition is concerned, holozoic mode of nutrition is simply, we can say, the best example of holozoic mode of nutrition is human beings. Our mode of nutrition is holozoic. Beside that, holozoic mode of nutrition may be herbivores. They show the holozoic mode of nutrition. Carnivores and omnivores. All these show the holozoic mode of nutrition. So this was nutrition and its types. Now there is a second question, that is process of nutrition in man. Process of nutrition in man. Now, as far as the first question is concerned, the first question was nutrition and its types, and the second question is the process of nutrition in man. As we know, man is heterotroph, and the mode of nutrition in man is holozoic. We also know that the man shows the holozoic mode of nutrition. So as far as the modes of nutrition in man is concerned, in this type of nutrition, food is subjected to following processes. And what are those processes? Number one is ingestion. Number two, it is digestion. Number three, absorption. Number four, assimilation. And number five is ingestion. These were the following processes that take place in the process of nutrition in man. Let's discuss these processes one by one. Number first is, that is called ingestion. Now, what do you mean by ingestion? Simply, if you say define ingestion, means the process of taking food inside the body. So the process of taking food inside the body is called ingestion. Simply we can define it. And thus ingestion may be defined as the process by which organisms takes food, or we can say in man, ingestion of food is done by the mouth. So simply, when we take the food inside our body, the main part that participates in the process of ingestion is mouth. So the process of ingestion takes place through mouth. Now the second one is, that's called the digestion. As we all know, digestion. What do you mean by digestion? It's a process in which complex food is converted, or we can say are broken down by the action of various enzymes into simpler ones, simpler soluble substances. Why simpler soluble substances? Because which can be absorbed. So this is the second process of nutrition in man. Let us discuss third one. Third one is absorption. Now the first process was ingestion. We take the food inside the mouth. The second process is digestion, in which the complex food gets converted into simpler one. And the third process now the absorption. Now the food has to be absorbed, or the food which has been digested, now it needs to get absorbed inside the blood cells, or we can say into the bloodstream. So it is the process, we can say, or it is the diffusion of digestion, because absorption takes place through diffusion. So, and we know what is the diffusion: movement of particles from higher concentration to the lower concentration, and same happens in the process of absorption. So And in absorption, the digested food, we can say, digested food is absorbed in small intestine through intestinal wall we can say, having finger-like projections, and we call them villi or villi, through which the food gets absorbed, and the process through which the food gets absorbed is the process of diffusion. Now the fourth important process that participates in the process of nutrition in man is assimilation. Assimilation. Now simply we can define it. It means the incorporation of digested food substances into the living cells of an animal and the subsequent use of building up of new tissues. Subsequent use for building up new tissues. So as far as the assimilation is concerned, we say, in short, assimilation, in the process of assimilation, the energy is used for the building up of new tissues. So this was the fourth process of nutrition in man. Now fifth one, that's called the ingestion. What do you mean by ingestion? Now it is simply the process in which waste products are thrown out of the body. The process by which the undigested part of the food is thrown out of the body. So these were the processes which is called the process of nutrition man that takes place inside the body of humans as well as other multicellular organisms and unicellular organisms as well. So we say the process of nutrition in man concerns 5 major steps, and that is: number 1 is ingestion, and number 2 is digestion, and number 3 that is called absorption, and number 4 is assimilation, and number 5th one is ingestion. Now let's move to the next question, that is digestion in man. Digestion in man, or we can say the process of digestion in man. Simply, process of digestion. Now the major process of digestion in man that takes place, or we can say the process of digestion in man takes place in various steps, and the steps involved in the process of digestion are those steps which we have already discussed, but now we will also discuss here what are the enzymes that participate in the process of digestion, and what are the organs, which organs are involved, what organs are involved in the process of digestion in man. So let's discuss process of digestion in man over here. Now the process of digestion in man involves alimentary canal. Alimentary canal, and which starts from the mouth and ends at the anus. So in the alimentary canal, it includes number one is mouth, number second esophagus, number third stomach, number four that's called small intestine, and number fifth is large intestine. And small intestine is concerned with liver, pancreas, and gallbladder, because all the secretions of these glands are poured into the first part of the small intestine, that's called the duodenum. We will discuss that one by one. Now the first part in the process of digestion in man is the mouth. That means the first step involved in the digestion in man is mouth. So we will say digestion in mouth. Digestion in mouth. The digestion of food in human beings begins in the mouth. So it's called the ingestion. And as far as the ingestion is concerned, we say here in mouth there is presence of number one is salivary glands, number second is teeth, and number third is tongue. And salivary glands secretes saliva, and there are three types of salivary glands, and number one is parotid gland, number second submaxillary gland, number third sublingual gland. And all the glands secrete saliva. As far as the teeth is concerned, teeth help in crushing the food, or we can say we chew the food with the help of teeth. It helps in chewing process, or we can say the mechanical process. And as far as the tongue is concerned, it helps in taste, because tongue has taste buds. Has taste buds that helps to taste the food. So the first part of the digestion, or we can say the first step of digestion, that takes place inside the mouth with the help of salivary glands, as these salivary glands pour saliva in the mouth cavity, and saliva contains enzymes, and those are called salivary amylase. Salivary amylase or tile. Which breaks starch into some complex carbohydrates into maltose. So the saliva present in the mouth contains enzyme that's called salivary amylase or ptyalin, breaks starch and complex carbohydrate into maltose. Simpler ones. So if we will write it in the form of reaction, so we can say starch and complex sugars gets broken down with the help of enzyme ptyalin, creates an acidic medium into maltose. So this is the first step in the digestion that takes place inside the mouth. Now second is digestion in stomach. Now as far as the stomach is concerned, it is a J-shaped organ. If we'll draw a little bit diagram over here of the stomach, it's a J-shaped organ and it has three ends. That's called the cardiac end. This one is called the pyloric end, and this one is called the fundus, mid part, and third one is called the pyloric end, which is connected with the intestine. So it's a J-shaped organ, and as far as the stomach is concerned, there are three substances present in the stomach. Number one is HCl. Number second, that is gastric juices. And number third is mucus. As far as the function of HCl is concerned, HCl inhibits all the bacterial growth. Stops the action of ptyalin and provides correct medium for gastric enzymes. To act on food. Now, as far as the enzymes are concerned that are present in the stomach, number one is enzymes present in stomach. Number one is renin, which helps to change milk into curd, and we call that paracas. Number second, gastric lipase, change fatty into fatty acids, change fats into fatty acids, fatty acids. Number third enzyme, that is pepsin, change proteins into peptones and amino acids. So these were the enzymes that act on the food that is present in the stomach, and as far as the function of HCl is concerned, we have discussed that. And in the stomach, the food takes the form of soup after partial digestion that takes place in the stomach, whether with the help of acidic medium or with the help of enzymes that are present in the stomach. The food particle takes the form of soup. Food takes the form of soup in the stomach, and that is called chyme, which then passes into the duodenum. Then passes into the duodenum. And duodenum is the first part of small intestine. First part of small intestine. Now let us discuss digestion in small intestine. Small intestine. Digestion in small intestine. In small intestine. Small intestine has three parts. One is duodenum. Number second is jejunum. And number third is ileum. First part, second part, and third part. And as far as the digestion and absorption of food is concerned, the digestion gets completed in the small intestine, and the food is also absorbed in the small intestine. And in the small intestine, food mixes with bile juice. Right here in small intestine, food mixes with bile juice and intestinal juices. And all these secretions are alkaline, and the acidity of the chyme is neutralized here. And the pepsin, which was present in the stomach, or we can say in the gastric lipase, is inactivated here. So as far as the digestion in duodenum is concerned, digestion in duodenum. In the duodenum, food mixes with bile secreted by liver and pancreatic juice. Secreted by pancreas. As far as the function of gallbladder is concerned, gallbladder stores bile juice. Remember that it is the storehouse of bile juice. Now, in duodenum, food mixes with bile and pancreatic juice, and bile is secreted by liver and pancreatic juice is secreted by pancreas. Now, number one, Bile juice helps in emulsification of fats. Emulsification of fats. And pancreatic juice contains various enzymes. Now, as far as the bile juice is concerned, it helps in the emulsification of fat. In bile juice, there is no enzyme. There is presence of bile pigments. Number second, there is presence of bile salts. And in pancreas, there is a presence of enzymes. And the name of pancreatic enzymes number 1, pancreatic amylase. It converts carbohydrates into sugar. Number second, trypsin. This is also the enzyme present in pancreatic juice. Converts proteins into amino acids. Next one, pancreatic lipase. Change fats into fatty acids and glycerol. And from the duodenum, food passes into the small intestine. Now, as far as the action of bile is concerned, now as we know, liver secretes bile juice. It is a yellowish green watery fluid. Which is transported through bile duct leading to the duodenum. Bile is devoid of enzymes. Bile is devoid of enzymes. Next one, bile is devoid of enzymes. That means there is no presence of enzymes over there. Number second, bile contains bile pigments and salts. I have already discussed that. The bile salts helps in breaking down oil droplets. Bile salts helps in breaking oil droplets. Oil droplets into small globules. So simply we can say fats with the help of bile gets emulsified. So if this is a fat molecule, for example, it gets broken down into smaller fat globules. So as far as the action of pancreatic juice is concerned, action of pancreatic juice is produced by pancreas, as we know, and produced and is passed through pancreatic duct into the duodenum. All the enzymes are poured into the duodenum, and there are 4 enzymes, as we have already discussed it, that is trypsin. Number 2 is chemotrypsin. Trypsin converts proteins into polypeptides. Chemotrypsin converts specific proteins into polypeptides. And in both the cases, medium is alkaline. There is no acidic medium at all, whether in pancreas and in bile. The medium is alkaline. And third one, that's called pancreatic amylase, or simply we can say amylase, converts complex sugar into maltose. Here also the medium is alkaline. And next one is lipase, converts emulsified fats into fatty acids. Now, as far as the action of intestinal juice is concerned, these were the actions of pancreatic and bile juice. Now, as far as the action of intestinal juice is concerned, it contains enzymes, and all the enzymes present in intestine are called Circus entericus. Now the enzymes, or we can say the intestinal juices, the name of those juices are: number 1, Erepsin, or peptidase. Next, maltase. Next, we say lactase. So there are various intestinal juices that acts on the food. For example, peptides, amino acids. Are converted into amino acids in presence of peptidases. In the same way, sucrose gets converted into glucose. Sucrose gets converted into glucose and fructose in presence of sucrase. These were the intestinal juices that are present in the intestine. And in the intestine, the food gets completely absorbed. As we know, the absorption of food takes place in small intestine. After that, the undigested food and all the absorption process, the process of absorption in the small intestine takes place through finger-like projections, as we know, and those finger-like projections are called villi. Now here the food gets absorbed through finger-like projections, and the process called absorption, as we have already discussed that. And the undigested food, or we can say the waste of the food, enters into the large intestine. Large intestine. As far as the large intestine is concerned, no digestion takes place in large intestine. Large intestine. Large intestine has three parts. Number one, that's called cecum. Number second is called colon, and number third is called rectum. And in large intestine, only absorption of some water and a mucus takes place. Rest, the undigested food, is passed through these three parts of the large intestine and ultimately reaches into the rectum. And from rectum, there is a pouch-like structure attached with the rectum that's called anus, that helps to ingest the food, the undigested food, throughout the body. So in this way, the process of digestion gets completed in humans. So the processes that takes place in the process of digestion is ingestion, digestion, absorption, assimilation, and digestion. And all these processes go step to step, and in every step various enzymes participate in it, and we have discussed those enzymes, as we have discussed digestion in mouth, in stomach, in small intestine, and the juices or the enzymes that is secreted by other glands, especially liver, pancreas, and what are their functions. And in this way, the undigested food that remains at last after the absorption of food, we throw it out of the body. So that's all for today's lecture, and I hope you might have understood today's lecture very well. Fi aman Allah.